Keroche Breweries industry CEO Tabitha Karanja could not believe what she saw when her daughter Tecra Muigai sent her photos of her then-boyfriend Omar Lali on WhatsApp. She immediately told her daughter that maybe she had sent the wrong photo because the guy was too old for her. Surprisingly, Tecra replied saying that he was the one. The mother had tried to convince Tecra to stop dating Omar Lali in vain. At some point, Tecra told her mother to stop the topic. This is the tragic story between Tecra Muigai and Omar Lali. Tecra Muigai was born on 21st May 1990 by her mom and dad, Joseph and Tabitha Karanja. She was the third and youngest among her siblings. Her parents are the famous Keroche Breweries industry tycoon, one of the biggest breweries in Kenya. She pursued her degree in Greenwich University in the UK, where she studied a degree in business administration and later a master's in Italy. Upon completion, she returned back to Kenya where she secured a position at the Keroche industry as the Director for Strategy and Innovation. With her entrepreneurial spirit that ran in the family, she had tried to open up a coffee business in Italy back in the year 2017. She had gotten support from an old friend, but sadly, the business did not thrive. She tragically lost her life 3 years later, leaving behind her sister Annalisa and stepbrother Jimmy Karanja as the successors to the family business. She died at the age of only 30 years. How did the two meet? Omar Lali was a 51-year-old man who earns a living by carrying luggage for tourists who visit Lamu Island. Lali is also a boat operator. He specializes in taking tourists to unique and luxurious spots such as Kiwayu. He was born and raised in Kizingitini, Lamu East, and later moved with his relatives in Lamu Archipelago. His long grey beard and his mastery of English, German, French and Dutch are what make him stand out. Before meeting Tecra, Lali is reported to have married a German lady with whom they sired a baby girl. It is also alleged that Lali had children with an Italian and Dutch lady whom he befriended when they visited Lamu as tourists. Lali is known to have befriended tourists. He even had sired children with them. His problem was overindulgence in alcohol. Lali and Tecra's paths first crossed in 2017 in one of the tourist boat rides, but they became friends in second encounter at Peponi Hotel. Lali came to Tecra's rescue after he found her detained at Peponi Hotel over a 10,000 Kenyan shillings bail. He had gone to Peponi Hotel to drop a luggage belonging to some tourists when he found Tecra in commotion with the owner over a bail. Lali bailed her out after realizing she was the same tourist he had dropped at the hotel days before. Lali footed the bail. When Tecra's stay in Lamu ended, she returned to Naivasha with a promise of coming back, and after 2 weeks, she was back. Back in Naivasha, they were to kick off a project she had initiated at the Keroche Breweries in Naivasha together with a friend called Max. But right before, she decided to take a 2 weeks break by traveling to Lamu. Tecra, however, extended her stay in Lamu, not in weeks but months. Her family was not surprised by her action since it was not her first time. The only fear that caught them sometimes later was the fact that she started getting so distant with her family members, as explained by her sister Annalisa. She started getting so distant with her family members as explained by her sister Annalisa. She failed to pick their calls or even reply to their messages. It was alleged that Tecra introduced Lali to her parents, but they were allegedly not happy with her choice. She had to go with Lali for introduction to her parents. They rejected him, but the girl stood her ground. Tecra vowed she could not separate with Lali and promised to stand by him despite the rejection. Everyone in her family was in shock, and for a moment her mother Tabitha for once thought it was a joke or some sort of prank. Little did she know that her daughter was dead serious. Lali introduced Tekra as his wife to his mother Aisha Lali. In 2018, Tecra accompanied Lali to a wedding in his home village, Kizingitini. She wore a long white dress and a veil. The couple would spend a lot of time at the Diamond Hotel in Shela or Peponi Hotel. They loved basking in the sand and relaxing at the seafront at night. Tecra's family had really pleaded with her to quit the relationship, but finally they gave up and decided to tolerate it. However, they had tried to beg her to return to Keroche Breweries in Naivasha to continue with her position. She had agreed to the request, but she never honored her words. They waited fruitlessly. On 30th August 2019, during Tecra's brother's birthday, the couple, accompanied by their driver Eric Cheriot, paid him a surprise visit in Delisaram. James Karanja stated that he was shocked by the nature of their relationship, which seemed more possessive and out of balance. Tecra looked out of place, and Lali avoided mingling with any of Tecra's family members. He was shocked by the fact that, despite their age difference, Tecra is the one who was financially supporting Lali instead of vice versa. More shock had gotten the brother when her girlfriend by the name Victoria opened up and told him that Tecra was claiming that Omar Lali was a prophet. That sounded absurd, especially coming from a smart and reasonable woman like Tecra. Though Lali had said that he allowed Tecra to have freedom with all of her friends, even male friends, Max, Tecra's friend, said that Lali acted so obsessive and expressed a lot of jealousy anytime he saw a man talk to Tecra. During a court hearing, Tabitha Karanja presented Tecra's bank statements showing that she had transferred more than 1 million Kenyan shillings to Omar over 5 months. She believed that Omar Lali was after her daughter's hard-earned income. When Lali realized that Tecra could not give him money anymore, he killed her. Tecra transferred money to Omar on diverse dates between August 2019 and March 2020. Tabitha also claimed police found unsigned bank slips in their house in Lamu, showing other instances of Tecra transferring money to Omar. Tabitha said Tecra had on several occasions called to tell her about her arguments with Omar. When they talked on the phone, she went on to tell her mother that a week or two they had been on a trip to Tanzania where Omar got into a terrible argument with her brother that almost led into a fight. Her driver Eric testified about the incidents of violence which forced him to resign from his job since Omar Lali made his working conditions quite difficult. Tabitha reached out to the two to find out why all that had taken place. Tecra told her mother that they had been having a lot of arguments and most of them were on why Omar was not listening to her or why Omar never wanted anybody around her. Tecra was caught up by the lockdown in Lamu, which started on March 2020. Her mom had begged her to use public means and travel back to Naivasha. The family waited after one lockdown to another. She was scared to travel by public means. Tabitha stated that she had met Omar once and briefly before Tecra's death, they did not speak to each other. On the beginning of November 2019, James and his girlfriend Victoria decided to visit Tecra in Lamu. On the second day of their meeting, Tecra came along with a friend called Yvonne. The friend knew Omar Lally way better than anyone else since she grew up together with Lally in Lamu. At an instant when Tecra stepped out of the hotel, she opened up to James and revealed to him that Omar Lally was not a good man. He had a history of abuse and used witchcraft to lure women into his charm and use them for financial gain. She requested James to speak some sense into Tecra about leaving Omar Lally. When Tecra joined them back, James tried to beg his sister into leaving the man, but she erupted, defending Lally and swearing that she would never leave him whatsoever. Tecra's sister Annalisa decided to visit Tecra in Lamu too. She arranged for a get-together, and when Tecra joined them, accompanied by Lally, she looked like a completely different person. Annalisa quickly dragged her from the crowd and spoke to her privately. There, Tecra opened up and revealed that Lally had been abusing her. She showed her sister a scar on her body where Omar Lally had burnt her with a hot iron. The couple's house manager confirmed the claims to Annalisa. For Omar Lally, he testified in court, stating that the two were deeply in love and that he had never been hostile towards her. He gave her all the freedom she needed, emphasizing that Tecra loved partying a lot with friends. She was a heavy drinker and sometimes used narcotics, like cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. What happened to Tecra Muigai? On April 22nd, 2020, Tecra and Lally were having the best moments of their life in a vacation at Jaha House Hotel in Lamu. Sadly, this was the last day her family would see her alive. She had shared memes with her sister Annalisa on her WhatsApp. They shared a phone call and made fun about the meme as well as speaking about life. After speaking with her sister, she called her mother and assured her that after the lockdown was lifted, she would be traveling back to Nairobi to be with her family. The couple had shared lunch together. Tecra went for yoga later, while Omar spent time with his daughters. Don't forget that he was already a father to 5 children he had sired with different women. They reconnected before 7 p.m. curfew. Later that evening, Tecra seemed to be in a partying mood and had requested Lally to pick for her a box of vodka. For Lally, he ordered 5 liters of Madafu. Feeling as if a box was too much, he brought her only 3 bottles. Even some hotel staff had thought that she was to hold a party. For Lally, he alleged to have had a bad toothache that evening and that he went to a nearby pharmacy where he bought himself some antibiotics. He later joined the cocktail party shortly, but due to the effects of medication, he felt drowsy and went to lay on a couch in the living room, leaving Tecra for the night. Early next morning at around 5:30 a.m., he was awakened by a loud thud and a scream. He looked towards where Tecra was sleeping, and she wasn't there. He then looked towards the staircases and saw her at the bottom of the stairs. He rushed over to her, tried some basic first aid. At some point, the girl was still talking and complained of too much pain in her back, head, and limbs. She had blood oozing from her nose and mouth. Omar immediately called his brother Kouassi. The brother quickly contacted a doctor by the name May Makau, who advised them to take her to hospital. They took her to a nearby Shela dispensary. Sadly, they did not receive much help since the dispensary did not have the required facilities to perform a CT scan to establish the extent of her injuries. Omar had to take her on a speedboat across the nearest King Fahd County Referral Hospital. In 10 hours' time, the results were out. Dr. Mubarak, who had attended Tecra, came with a report indicating that by the time Tecra arrived at the hospital, she was alive but unable to speak. She had severe damage to the left ear, blood-stained clothes, and smell of alcohol. Her temporal lobe, a part of the brain that helps you to use your senses to understand and respond to the world around you, had been severely damaged. He also added that the injuries on Tecra's body were too severe and did not correspond with the claims of a typical fall. After a radiology test, the other doctor stated that the injuries on her head were too severe and should not have resulted from a fall. His conclusion was that a blunt object had been used, and that is how the injuries were inflicted. Seeing the seriousness of the case, Omar contacted Tabitha, Tecra's mother, informing her of the situation they were in. Through the mother's influence, Tecra was airlifted on an armrest helicopter to Nairobi. All this time, Omar was with her side by side until she was admitted at the Nairobi hospital. He was living with Tecra's family at the time. Sadly, on the 3rd of May 2020, after a 2-week struggle trying to fight for her life, she passed on. On the 4th May 2020, Omar was put on a police car driven to Lamu, where upon arrival, he learned of his lover's demise. He was faced with the charges of being involved in the tragic death of Tecra Muigai. The chief magistrate at Lamu Law Court, Alan Sitachi, allowed for authorities to detain Omar for 3 weeks as they further conducted more investigation onto the case. A week later, Tecra's body went through an autopsy by the chief government pathologist, Dr. Johannesson Odro. His report indicated that the injuries found on Tecra's head were consistent with being hit by a blunt object as well as a heavy fall, which had caused trauma to the integral part of the brain. He further stated that there were no toxic specimens in her system and that her ultimate cause of death was severe brain injury from a blunt object. On 16 May 2020, Tecra was laid to rest in Naivasha in a private ceremony with only 100 invitees. Among the attendees included Honorable Raila Odinga and his wife Aida Odinga. Lali's family had requested to attend the burial, but the request was denied by Tecra's family. On the 26th of May 2020, the pre-trial period of the 21 days as ordered by the court was over, so Omar Lali was released from detention. The Chief Magistrate Alan Sitati argued that the prosecution team had not yet presented any substantial evidence that could be used against Omar Lali in order to continue holding him in. Between the 26th of May and June 2020, the homicide detectives noted some discrepancies on the statement offered by Omar Lali. In his previous statement, he claimed that Tecra fell down a staircase. Later, he was claiming that Tecra had accidentally slipped in the bathroom. Out of these events, Lali was, on the 31st July 2020, officially charged the demise of Tecra Muigai. Eddie Kadebe and Zachariah Kiongo, the lead prosecution officers, believed that there was substantial evidence to now bring Omar Lali to books for the murder of Tecra Muigai. The change of statement was evidence enough to incriminate him. Sadly, a dark twist took over the case. On 16 July 2020, the state dropped the charges against Omar Lali. The Director of Public Prosecution dropped the charges but opened an inquest rather. For a few months, the family seemed to be at ease and the grey cloud cleared as they waited for the inquest. On November 2020, the inquest to the case of Tecra Muigai's mysterious death took place. During the proceeding, Omar Lali maintained his innocence, emphasizing that he loved Tecra and he had never laid a hand on her not just Tecra, but any other woman in his life. His brother supported the claim, adding that he knew Tecra and Lali as people who cared for each other and were deeply in love. On the other hand, the prosecution team had about 25 witnesses who testified against Omar Lali and his claim for innocence. Among the witnesses, there was Peter Keroche, a close family friend who was Tecra's childhood friend too. Keroche worked as a restaurant in Naivasha. He stated that he met Tecra and Omar 3 or 4 times before her death. Keroche testified that Omar would be jealous if any man talked to Tecra. There would be a heated verbal and sometimes physical exchange, but Tecra would calm Omar down. Whenever Keroche could reach out to Tecra, it was Omar who would pick the phone and would never let him speak to her. Omar would say Tecra was busy and doesn't want to speak to anyone. Keroche added that Tecra's relationship changed when Omar came into her life. She cut off her friends, and when he asked her, she told him Omar wanted to spend all the time with her. Keroche said Omar isolated Tecra from everyone. Keroche described the relationship between Lali and Tecra as not peaceful. He told the court that the two had many arguments and their driver would always intervene. He reportedly did a follow-up on the exchanges, and Tecra allegedly told him that they were having arguments about Lali not listening to her and never wanting her to be around other people. Another family friend, Massimiliano Ricciardei, a businessman, also testified and told the court that he got worried when Tecra told him that she had found someone just a week after being in Lamu. He told the court that they would speak on the phone often, but that slowly changed, and Tecra would always tell him that there were network issues in Lamu. He said that when he went to Lamu, Lali was shouting during dinner, and according to him, that behavior was uncalled for since they were meeting for the first time. The case of Tecra Muigai's murder is still ongoing. A million questions remain unanswered. But what is undeniably evident is that Omar Lali and Tecra's relationship was unbalanced. It was characterized by exploitation, greed, manipulation, and codependency. We still hope that justice shall prevail and the truth will come to light. And what do you think happened to Tecra Muigai exactly behind those closed doors? Let us know about your thoughts in the comment section. Besides, we will keep you posted concerning the case. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.